Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, it's time for one of my least favorite kinds of shows. Is it a bold prediction show? No, it's the other least favorite kind of show where we're supposed to do way too early, instant reaction, snap judgment kind of reactions to things that we really should, in all, sense, wait another 4 or so months to do. But Tony, that's not what we're here for today. We are here to give you our snap judgment, instant reaction, bold grades of Ohio State's transfer additions on offense. And I think before we get started, I think we sort of need to define our terms, both for the audience and for at least me and maybe you as well. What are we defining here? Just overall, if you bring in, obviously, if you bring in Caleb Downs, that's an A+, right? Yeah, we got it. That's very, very clear. When you have a spot to fill, like I'm sure we're going to start at quarterback, You're not looking for a starting quarterback. You're not looking for a long-term solution at quarterback. You're looking for a Chris Chugginoff type. They brought in a Chris Chugginoff type. Now, Chris Chugginoff and Caleb Downs are different types of success. So is that an A? Is that a B? Is that what are we grading on? Just a player or filling the need that they have?
Well, Tom, not all A's are created equally, but yes, I think you're doing it in terms of filling the need. Did you do that in a proper fashion? Also, you can look and see, like last year, did Ohio State need to bring in another, and I say last year, 2024, did Ohio State need to bring in another 1,000-yard rusher? Not necessarily. Did they need to bring in another running back? Sure. And then they ended up having basically a double A in a sense, in that they brought somebody in who's good, but then also they filled that need. This, I feel like it's definitely filling a need, but again, this is not what we like to do. This is something that we've been asked to do in terms of grading these things, because I was thinking about this, Tom. I don't know what we would have graded. I don't know what I would have graded Will Howard last year, like C+, like Kansas State's quarterback. Okay, I mean, I know they need one, B-, like maybe if I'm feeling good that day, I'd say a B, but was I ever thinking A+? I don't know that I was. So, that these are all things that when people go back and look at our archives next year and study what we've done, it's like, well, come on. What are you looking for here? But in terms of Justin Martin, let's start at quarterback. Because what they're looking for is nothing. They're not looking for a starter. They're not looking for a backup. To me, this is simply pass-fail. Did they get a fourth quarterback? Tom, they got a fourth quarterback. So I'm just giving this one pass. It's the professor isn't interested. Student's not interested. It's just, did you show up? Yes, here you are.
Yeah, if we're grading this pass-fail, this is a clear pass. They needed a veteran guy to come in and be one of the 4 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster. Check that box. Yes, you have your starter already for this year with Julian Say, and you have your presumptive starter, and there's a couple presumptions built into this, but assuming Julian Sane goes and assuming Tavian St. Clair continues to develop, you have your presumptive 2027 starter on the roster already. But you need another guy. You need a fourth guy. Ryan Day has long expressed the fact that he wants to have 4 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster. You have checked that box. If someone gets hurt, great, you've got him, and you are a little further away from having to throw the true freshman in there. Yeah, that's an easy. If we're grading pass-fail on this one, pass, easy one.
Not so easy at running back, where they brought in Jacoby Jackson out of Florida. They need a veteran running back to pair with all their sophomores and freshmen. And they go and get a guy who carried the ball, 28 times last year, and then 95 times the year before, and has had injury history. And I'm thinking, like, well, you look at what Carlos Loughlin brought in last year with C.J. Donaldson. Does that earn him any benefit of the doubt? I don't think so. I don't know that I'd say Ohio State probably did not get what they thought they were going to get out of C.J. Donaldson. So here I'm thinking, like, Sure, Jacoby Jackson rushed for 100 yards against Texas in 2024. That's positive. And he had a 100-yard game against somebody else as well. The thing here is, though, I just think it's such a mystery. I can't go above like a C. Like they got some veteran, but he's only carried the ball, 100 times in his career.
Yeah, that's probably about C plus, something like that. Because I think if you had another year of him doing what he did as a freshman, or I guess a sophomore at Florida, which was 95 carries, 509 yards, 5.4 yards per carry, 7 touchdowns, that's basically C.J. Donaldson. If you had another year of that, I'd say, yeah, okay, you got a C.J. Donaldson, and that's like a B minus, maybe. Without the second year of track record there. And it was an injury thing. It was got hurt in the 4th game of the season, and that's it. So, it's not that he lost his job or anything like that. He got hurt and that happened. So give this a C plus, with the understanding that, yeah, it could be more than that. And also the understanding that they don't, this is not someone they need to be the bell cow number 1 running back. They've got Bo Jackson. They brought Bo Jackson back. That, I think settles the nerves about the running back room to a certain degree. This is just, you're bringing in another person who's played some at the college level, has a little bit of a track record at the college level. And then between Bo Jackson and Jacoby Jackson and Isaiah West, and, maybe Turbo Rogers, and I think Favor Aki is probably a year away. But between the 4 guys who are coming back, and especially the 3 guys who you've seen play at the college level to a certain degree, I think they're going to be completely fine at the running back position. Jacoby Jackson just doesn't move the needle a ton for me, but it's more veteran depth, which is not a bad thing in that room.
Yeah, I'm not convinced Jacoby Jackson is the backup here. I think Isaiah West is going to have every opportunity. Although when you bring in somebody new, you're trying to figure out who this Thunder and Lightning thing is. Tom, did you see my nickname on the message board for a pairing of Bo Jackson and Jacoby Jackson?
Is it the Jackson 2? I did not see it, but was it the Jackson 2? Because
No,
that's the correct answer.
That was somebody else's.
Oh.
Mine was the correct answer of Jabobi.
No, no, I don't think that's it. No.
We'll workshop it. I'll continue to just mention it throughout shows, and eventually you're going to be like, yeah, I like this Jabobi thing. I do like it.
Costanza.
Jabobi. And so now, okay, there you go. A passing grade, but we will see. Moving to wide receiver here, because this is a situation where you lose some talented, unproductive players to this point. And that's, you can throw in Bryson Rogers, Quincy Porter, Mylan Graham, Bodpin Miller. And to say unproductive is kind of dismissive. Players who had not yet produced yet. You bring in guys who have absolutely produced. Now, one of them has done the most production, and that's at UTSA. And how much of a step up is that? I think it's a significant step up to Ohio State. Have other players done similar progressions and done well? Yes. You add in Kyle Parker from LSU, which is the same level of play. Not yet been truly explosive as a pass catcher, but has experienced started as a redshirt freshman in the season opener in 2024, which tells me a lot of how he is in terms of maturity and things like that. So for me, I'm thinking this is, given what they lost and what they need, were there bigger, better receivers out there? Yes. Would they have cost more? Sure. I'm thinking right now, I feel okay going with like a B minus, thinking that this could become much more than that.
Yeah, I think I'm a slightly more lenient grader, or you're a slightly stricter grader, because I feel like you're like a half a grade low on all these lower on all of these than I am. I was going to say B. I'm willing to listen to B minus, and I don't think you're anywhere. I don't think you're in a B plus conversation. So, B to B minus, give it exactly an 83. That's exactly where this is going to land. 83 out of 100. This is a couple guys where you're not bringing in a proven guy. This is not you're bringing in Ohio State has really never brought in a transfer wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of new territory for them. But you're not bringing in someone who is a proven performer, 800 to 1,000 yards at the Power 5 level, but you're bringing in a guy who has done that not at the Power 5 level, and you're bringing in a guy who has done something at the Power 5 level, but not quite that. And so there's not a sure thing here, but there's, I think, a couple really intriguing prospects where McEwen could turn into a great downfield threat for Ohio State, and Parker could take that next step. And I think I'm giving Parker a little bit of extra credit in my mind because Cortez Hankton coached him at LSU. So Cortez Hankton knows what he is not just watching film and going, well, he might be like this. He knows what he's got there. And that was a name that you heard very, very early on. So that was someone that I think was probably a little bit of a priority for Ohio State. So that to me probably bumps it from a B- to a B, just because there's not a surefire, absolute slam dunk here. But I think there's two guys where if they go 1 for 2 here with either one, either, the more proven guy who can make that leap, or the guy who was playing at the level and then takes the next step in terms of production, just moving from one school to another, being another year older, they just need to go 1 for 2 here. And I feel reasonably confident that they're at least going to do that.
Yeah, I think there's some potential that I'm looking forward to seeing in action for the Buckeyes. Mm-hmm. Last one, we'll talk about the tight ends. No need to talk about the offensive line, as Buckeye fans are happily aware of. Let's just talk about tight ends because, Tom, I think this one for me, I feel pretty good about going ahead and going with an A here because, one, what was out there? So if the grades are limited in terms of what is out there, and the best that is out there is an A, and Ohio State needs some tight ends, not desperately, but they bring in 2, and it combined 54 receptions last year, and that's some production that they can throw into this lineup. And so you're thinking like, well, how do you replace Max Clare? And I don't know that Ohio State used him enough to be in a situation like, how do you replace that guy? His longest reception of the season was 39, and Will Kazmarik's longest was 47. So like, this wasn't a thing where, he had a bunch of catches, but I think anybody could have done that. And I think what they're bringing in, and Hunter Welsing and Mason Williams, can combine to do what the 2 guys, Will Kazmarik and Max Clare, did last year. And if others come along with them, great. For me, this is an A all day.
Yeah, I think this is, I was going to say more of an A-, so now we have changed roles and I get to be bad cop, so that's fun. But yeah, I think the most significant thing that you said to me there was what was available. Hunter Welsing is, I think, probably the guy we've talked about less in term, and that I think has just gotten a lot less notice overall, because you have the guy who's coming in as the blocking guy from Ohio University. Everyone goes, oh, okay, they got a Will Kazmarek. Everyone knows what that is. Hunter Welsing is a veteran guy who this is going to be his 7th year, which, okay, that's good. He's been banged up quite a bit. And so he really is not quite as proven as you would expect a 7th year guy to be. But, if you want to go to the transfer portal rankings, and, these are the PFF grades of the transfer portal, where you can, if they prove what I'm trying to say, then they're good. And if they don't, then obviously they're nonsense. But if you look at those, the 247 ones, Hunter Welsing is the 4th rated tight end in the transfer portal. And the 3 guys above him, all 3 of them followed a coach from one school to another: Utah to Michigan, Penn State to Virginia Tech, and Iowa State to Penn State, which at that point, those don't even count as transfers in my mind, because this is just, okay, you got traded. That's that's essentially how I look at that. So in terms of the truly free agent tight ends, Hunter Welsing was probably the best guy in the market, at least according to that. And, you bring in 2 guys. I think you can sort of recreate what you had in the aggregate. And I don't know that you're going to get 100% of Max Clare and Will Kazmarek out of these 2 guys, but you're probably going to be close-ish. And frankly, if Ohio State fans saw a little bit less tight end this year, they would probably be okay with that.
Yeah, I don't know if they want to see 100% of what they saw last year. And I do think there's some good options there for them. So there you go. Our offensive grades. Again, these are final. There's no changing these. And what we see later on will not have any impact on how we think these players did. So, or the additions that they've become, or their histories and contributions to this football team. It is all set in stone now. So good luck to you all. So that will do it. We'll talk about defense on the next episode. I'm sure that will be just as definitive and punishing. So if you're watching, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. We'd appreciate that. 5-star rating and review, all of that good stuff. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you all later.